horror movies.
Please, he's gonna try and kill me.
Watching them is one thing, surviving them is another.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
You can never have sex. You can never drink or do drugs. Never, ever, ever say it.
I'll be right back.
Then along came a film that surprised Hollywood, critics, and audiences by daring to defy them all.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula.
We took every single rule and broke it.
And introduced moviegoers to a new kind of horror movie.
You're starting to sound like some Wes Carpenter flick or something.
I think what makes the Scream films original is the fact that they take a look at themselves and they take a look at the horror genre itself. And I think that was a very new concept.
It was very, very acutely aware of the genre and kind of slyly announcing to the audience of, we know what you're thinking. And you better hang on to your seats because we're going to do something different.
It was a film that leaned on humor, but still managed to scare the hell out of audiences.
We're going to go over boundaries that you didn't think we'd go over, and not just in gore.
It's not just a scary guy with a knife. It's not knowing who that person is.
No one had seen anything like that.
This scary movie also attracted a hot young cast of up-and-comers.
Everybody wanted to be in this movie. The fact that all these actors were just people I respected.
And on December 20th, 1996, an unsuspecting holiday audience was taken by the throat.
I didn't realize how scary the movie was going to be for people. Oh, I think this is probably going to work better than we expected.
But with a screenplay in what was a dying genre.
It was the worst timing in the world. Horror was done.
A brand-name director who kept saying no.
I think the reason that I passed on it was my usual stupidity.
And a bitter controversy over a key filming location which divided an entire town.
The local papers were actually attacking the production.
Bringing this scary movie to the screen would come with its own set of challenges.
I was so desperate when I wrote it. I couldn't pay my bills, and my car payment was due, and I was 3 months behind on my rent.
Wes was really under the gun from the studio because they didn't see it. And in Hollywood parlance, that means you're about to be fired.
You know, early on, we got an NC-17 rating.
Is this going to be the nail in some people's careers, in their career coffin?
No, do it!
This is the story of an unproven screenwriter, a director in need of a hit, and a maverick studio that reinvented the rules of horror and made scary movies fun again. This is Inside Story, Scream.
I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
By the mid-1990s, the infamous Unabomber was finally captured. Moviegoers flocked to Independence Day. Television's hottest shows were ER and Seinfeld. Everyone was doing the Macarena, and kids everywhere were playing with Tickle Me Elmo. But on December 20th, 1996, the horror movie Scream was released to film audiences ready for a new kind of terror.
The Scream movie is something totally different. It was a movie that hit at the right time culturally. It recognized the pop icons of the past and then brought them into the fold in a way that was so uniquely entertaining.
Those past genre icons, films such as Black Christmas, When a Stranger Calls, Halloween, Friday the 13th, and A Nightmare on Elm Street, were the spiritual fathers of Scream, a movie that would pay homage to them as much as it would break new ground.
It's about a group of teenagers being terrorized and murdered. But what made it unique was that it was a satire on those films.
This scary movie tells the story of a seemingly typical teenage girl coming of age. She's surrounded by a close group of friends. She has a boyfriend with raging hormones.
Okay, time's over. Stud bucket.
A father whose life is one business trip after another.
Have a good trip, okay?
But Sidney Prescott's life is anything but ordinary, as she tries to come to terms with the brutal murder of her mother 1 year ago.
Only a year ago, Maureen Prescott, wife and mother, was found raped and murdered not far from this peaceful town square.
And just when things seem to be getting back to normal, the quiet town of Woodsboro is once again plagued by a killer. someone targeting Sydney, someone who is taking their love of scary movies one step too far.
It's totally different, you know what I mean? And it's like, who knows what can happen?
But there was more to this slasher movie than its cast being stalked by yet another masked murderer.
I would describe Scream to a friend as a high school romp gone very, very wrong.
Scream was so brilliant and so smart and funny, but it took the deaths and the scares very seriously.
You have this group of kids talking about the killings, and the quiet one, you know, Neve Campbell's character, Sidney Prescott, you don't know much about her at all. And then you see that she's tied into it all because there was a murder of her mother earlier on, and this guy Cotton Weary is accused of it.
If I was wrong about Cotton Weary, then the killer's still out there.
I think it was never been done before where there was a plot that was very intricate, very entangled with, you know, hidden secrets.
One of the most successful elements of the movie is the mystery element, and Scream taps into that. It taps into it beautifully.
You were constantly guessing about who the killer could be. It could have been anyone.
The killer's still on the loose, isn't he?
Come on, Sid.
Those murders are related.
I think Sydney's past is coming back to haunt her, obviously because of the murder of her mother and having to deal with that and having to overcome that.
That kept it very grounded in something we all can really attach our emotions to.
I feel like she's lived, she's been hurt, she's seen life.
Your mother's murder was last year's hottest court case. Somebody was going to write a book about it.
Right, and it had to be you with all your lies and theories.
With a new, hip, and more modern sensibility, Scream set itself apart from slasher movies of the past.
It was finally the movie where the characters had seen other movies.
Terror Train, Prom Night. How come Jamie Lee Curtis is in all of these movies?
I mean, it was basically saying, hey, you know what? We've seen all these movies. We know what's up.
And we're going to spell it out. We're going to say what everyone's been thinking. And now from this point forward, this is how horror movies are going to work.
Oh, you want to play psycho killer? Can I be the helpless victim?
Like many horror movies, Scream would open on a dark night with a young girl alone in her isolated house. But her solitude would quickly be shattered by a mysterious phone call.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes?
Who is this?
Who are you trying to reach?
That quickly turned into a terrifying game.
Listen to me. You hang up on me again, I'll gut you like a fish, understand?
People thought, well, Drew Barrymore is going to be in the whole film.
The fact that it's Drew Barrymore and she dies, it just tells you your preconceptions about this kind of movie are wrong.
But there would be other potential victims, starting with Sydney's friends, who offered a unique but cynical view of teenage life in the 90s.
Part of the brilliance of the script was the way the characters spoke to each other.
There is kind of a numbness to violence that obviously we're more excited by what's going on than horrified by what's going on.
No way.
And we're not just talking killed, we're talking splattered movie killed, ripped open from end to end.
These kids were little too smart for their own good and wanting to see how far they could push it and what they could get away with.
The first among them is Sydney's boyfriend, Billy, who despite his surface charms, would be the first of the film's many suspects.
You wish to get out of the right to remain silent. I didn't do anything.
He's charming and he's mysterious and he's, there's just a lot to him.
Billy is a really interesting character because there is something wrong with him. He's cool and he's good looking, so he gets a pass, which happens in real life.
Couldn't have been me, I was in jail. Remember?
Sydney's best friend and constant companion, Tatum Riley.
I made her really wide-eyed and just fun, not stupid, but just a kind of a great little effervescent being.
Tatum's boyfriend and Billy's best friend, Stu Macher.
I had this, you know, this kind of crazy youth and this energy and was fearless, and I just kind of was bouncing off the wall. I look back at that performance, I'm like, what was he letting me do? It was ridiculous.
And finally, Randy Meeks, the quintessential geek who couldn't get the girl, but knew more than a thing or two about the inner workings of a horror movie.
If they watch Prom Night, they'd save time.
Oh, okay, we know everything that's going to happen in horror movies, and so, you know, my character was the one that actually helped say that. It was like kind of the voice of the people.
The Randy character is one of the most original characters in the script. The kid who knows the rules. It's a brilliant idea, and it's part of what made the movie so fresh, because Randy is a real kid.
The film was more than young people in jeopardy. It also featured a host of adult characters, starting with the boyish and bumbling deputy of Woodsboro, Dewey Riley.
Does the force require you to work out?
No, ma'am. Because of my boyish good looks, muscle mass has increased my acceptance as a serious police officer.
I had different, traits and characteristics that I thought I could bring like a real sweet element to Dewey, and he's a loving character. He's still a little kind of kid inside.
It's very strange to see this sort of aw shucks guy in a world where, all these kids are so smart and wily, and yet you've got this sort of, Barney Fife wandering around, which is tremendously entertaining.
Opposite Deputy Dewey was hyper-aggressive reporter Gail Weathers, who would stop at nothing to get what she wanted.
Hi, Gail Weathers, reporting live from the Woodsboro Police Station. This is a glimpse of Sidney Prescott.
Hey, watch her, Larry.
Hey, watch the hand. You know what you're dealing with here?
The character, Gail Weathers, is just a classic tabloid journalist.
And no one felt Gail's sting more than her cameraman and resident flunky, Kenny Jones.
He was Gail's chief whipping boy, that rolls downhill, and she was at the apex of the hill and he was at the bottom.
And finally, keeping a watchful eye on his students was the morally upright but slightly unhinged Principal Himbry.
You make me so sick. Your entire capital-inducing, thieving, whoring generation disgusts me.
Yeah, Principal Himbry and Sheriff Burke are the only real present adults. The mother is dead, and the father is going off on a business trip, and there's really doesn't seem to be too many other parents around.
I would imagine that the reason that her father is saying that he wants to leave town is to use the character as a red herring.
Have you located Sidney's father yet?
Not yet.
Well, he's not a suspect, is he?
We haven't ruled him out as a possibility.
Even with its cast of colorful characters and would-be suspects, and its knack for turning every cliche on its head, the question remained, could the horror movie make a comeback?
But the horror genre was not really in vogue at that moment.
They were seen as funny. They weren't so scary anymore. So people weren't really making them.
I mean, horror was dead.
Dead or not, one devoted horror movie fan decided it was time to take a gamble and write something that would defy expectations and break new ground.
I was trying to create something new and different that we haven't seen before. I wanted it to sort of just be perverse and very sort of satirical, but very real.
The resulting screenplay, originally titled Scary Movie, was indeed satirical, but its inspiration came from an event that was grisly, shocking, and most disturbingly, true.